If you're experiencing ME, CFS, long COVID, fibromyalgia, POTS or related conditions, you might be spending a lot of time lying down and still feel exhausted, wired or stuck. People say, oh, you need to rest more, but you think, actually, I'm resting all the time. I can't rest anymore. Quick question for you. Which do you find easier, pushing or resting? Let me know in the chat. When I've asked this question before, the vast majority of people said they found it easier to push than to rest. And I get that, because when I developed ME, CFS, resting and not doing anything was completely alien. If before I got sick someone said you will spend a lot of time doing nothing, I would have laughed, because that would have seemed impossible. So today I want to look at what rest really is and what it isn't. The difference between collapsing with stress and the kind of rest that actually helps your nervous system reset and support healing. If you don't know me, my name's Simon Pimenta. I had ME, CFS, fibromyalgia for about 8-9 years. At one point I was resting and sleeping 18 hours a day, and I couldn't walk for 1 minute without payback. What helped was a combination of mind-body approaches and practical strategies, exactly the kind of things that I'm going to talk about in this video. In recent videos, we've talked about crashes, boom and bust, listening to your body's signals and sending safety signals. Rest is where a lot of this is meant to come together, but it only works if the rest is real. So let's talk about what rest that isn't rest looks like. If you're lying in bed on your phone, iPad or laptop, when you know you just need to take a break, you're watching TV or scrolling for long periods, reading or chatting in a way that's stimulating, or you're lying still but stressing, analysing, beating yourself up because you overdid it, a lot of people quite understandably say, yeah, I was resting. I was on the iPad or I watched a film. The challenge is that screens can use a lot of energy, especially when we are depleted. Our eyes are taking in a constant stream of information. Our brain is processing it. And as I say, if you're already very depleted, even screens and reading can be surprisingly expensive for your system. When I first got ME, CFS, I couldn't even look at screens. I couldn't watch telly. I didn't watch telly for quite a long time. And anytime you're lying in bed, worrying, predicting the future in negative ways, replaying conversations, giving yourself a hard time, that's not rest either. In all of those, the body might be still, but the nervous system is in a stress state. Fast thoughts, tension, vigilance. That's why you can rest for hours, but not feel any better. So what is real rest aiming for? You can think of these 3 ingredients. Number 1, safety. A sense of my system is safe enough right now. Not everything has to be perfect, but in this moment, I'm safe to just let go and relax a little. You've probably had that experience where you just take a breath or a few breaths and just to feel that sense of relaxation, letting go in your body. And we'll do a little relaxation at the end of this video. The second piece is attunement. So this is actually noticing what your body and emotions are doing and what you actually need. So this is very different to bulldozing through every signal, every sensation, emotion, symptom, and not obsessing over every tiny fluctuation, but being a bit more honest about what's going on in your body. Can you relate to any of that? Do you tend to bulldoze through those subtle signals? Do you obsess about every tiny fluctuation? How often do you just pause, check in and tune into what is it I actually need right now? I was really bad at doing that. Anytime I felt discomfort or some uncomfortable symptom, I would distract myself in ways that just depleted my energy further. For example, I'd pick up the guitar and just play too long. I would watch movies, action movies that were quite stimulating, and as I say, would end up feeling more depleted. The third step is enoughness. just recognizing that those small periods where we pause, it might be for a minute or so or longer, and allow the nervous system to reset. These are worthwhile, they're significant, and they can add up. We don't need to say, well, that didn't fix my whole life, so it's useless. Actually, we can underestimate the power of these pauses. So if we think back to different capacity levels, when you're very depleted in the red state, as I call it, your system needs more safety and deep rest. When you have some energy, the yellow state, you still need some regular resets, just not pushing until you drop. And even when you're more in the green, more capacity, it's important to have breaks that count, all right? Not constant activity with no recovery. I notice I'm back at work, I work full days. It's still really useful for me to have a very focused period of work and then to have a break. So, do you need rest or do you need something else? So sometimes when we're lying in bed, bored, frustrated, lonely, we call that rest, but actually in that state of boredom, isolation, feeling a bit miserable and frustrated, that's not helping your system heal either. So it can be useful to ask, do I need more rest right now? Or do I need a little CFS, connection, fun, stimulation, in a way that feels safe enough for my system? So connection might be just sending someone a message, having a brief chat with someone and saying, I just need, it'd be good to have a chat, but just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So, be intentional about that. Because if, like me, there have been times when I've chatted to people and just because I've got into the conversation, I kept going, and then ended up feeling exhausted, all right? And actually one of the factors there is I needed to just be more connected to my body. So instead of getting over animated and overexcited and kind of losing sense of myself, I needed to just slow down a bit. And then I might have been able to build my capacity. Instead of just 5 minutes, conversation might be half an hour, might be an hour. All right. So fun could be 2 to 5 minutes of something that genuinely brings a spark. Listening to a favourite song or even singing a song. Doing a tiny bit of a hobby. I work with people who, for instance, are artists and they say, I can't do any art. I say, well, what if you just had a sketchbook by your bed and you just did a little sketch? And some people are getting in their own way. They're saying, yeah, but I want to do some oil painting. Okay, you might not have the capacity to do that right now because you have to set it all up, etc. But how about starting with meetings that need in a small way? All right, so tiny hobby might be watching a short video, or let's look at stimulation. As I say, it might be doing something you enjoy just for a little amount of time. One thing that I quite like doing, because I'm really bad at drawing, is watching a YouTube video on how to draw an animal, let's say, and then doing it. And I find that by watching that video first, my drawings don't look like they've been drawn by a 5-year-old. Okay, no disrespect to 5-year-olds. Okay, might be looking at nature. I quite like watching nature documentaries or travel documentaries. People traveling, telling me about their adventures. I can kind of get into that. Might be listening to some music. Might be a small creative act. Whatever you're into, whether it's knitting or crochet or something else. Okay, so people don't realize that those small amounts of CFS, connection, fun, stimulation, can make a big difference, because in that moment we start to just be absorbed by what we're doing, and that can help us feel safe, regulated, and make us feel more alive. Okay, so part of making rest count is asking, is this actually recharging me, or am I just lying here bored and stressed? Because when we're bored and stressed, that's not healing. So therefore, just lying there feeling bored and frustrated and stressed, even if you're tired, is not actually doing anything beneficial, or it may not be, let's put it that way. So sometimes we need rest, but sometimes it might be that you need a small dose of CFS, connection, fun, stimulation. Let me know what your thoughts are about that. Can you relate to that? Can you relate to lying in bed feeling frustrated and that not really helping you feel any better? So let's look briefly at how real rest can look in the different stages of recovery. So phase 1, the red phase, very low capacity. This is when maybe someone's bedbound or mostly horizontal with very limited energy. Real rest here is anything that reduces stimulation and sends safety. Closing your eyes, soft breath, soothing audio, limiting screen time when you need to. All right. The goal here is to stabilize and feel safer, not to do more. Phase 2, the yellow phase, some energy, but it's unstable, it's fickle. Energy comes and goes. Boom and bust is common. Real rest here is those short, intentional, screen-free pauses. Little nervous system resets between or around activities. And the goal here is to build rhythm, time on, time off, instead of stopping only when your energy has crashed. Okay. Phase 3, more green, capacity growing. This is about more consistency and fewer and shorter flares. So real rest here looks like short breaks around activity, responding to mild symptom increases with more trust. My body is adjusting instead of I've ruined everything. There may be times when you choose to go for it. For example, I've shared before about going clubbing on purpose after lots of rest, before and after. Early on, I stressed about the symptoms afterwards when I overdid it. But when I went clubbing, I just lay in bed with a big smile on my face, thinking about all the fun I had. And I had a great time. So phase 4, integration, life 2.0 as I call it. I'll explain that. Functionally well enough to work, socialise, travel. Real rest here is just part of a sustainable lifestyle. Make sure we get proper sleep. And, this is something I have to constantly work on. I know that I do much better in the week if I get reasonably early nights. Sometimes when I get a bit distracted, maybe I'm watching something, stay up too late, I can feel the difference. And actually I love waking up in the morning ready to go. And I like waking up early. All right. So decent sleep, proper breaks, having time on, time off, simple relaxation practices, having good boundaries for yourself and with others. So for me, recovery didn't mean going back to the exact life that helped me get sick in the first place. It meant designing a different one that was more sustainable, which I call Life 2.0. So let's do a short real rest practice right now so that your system can have an experience of this. Only do this in a way that feels safe enough for you. You can close your eyes or soften your gaze. Obviously, only close your eyes, soften your gaze if it's safe to do so. So first of all, just notice how you're positioned. You might be on a bed, on a sofa or in a chair. So the goal here is just to allow yourself to soften, relax and let go a little bit more. So I invite you to just adjust your posture, maybe just pull your shoulders up just for a moment and then just drop them down, allowing them to find a restful position. Relax your jaw and let your hands rest in a comfortable position. Just notice where your body is being supported by whatever you're resting on. Noticing the contact between your body and those different points of contact. You might silently say, I'm safe enough to relax, let go and soften. Now bring your attention to your breath. You don't have to breathe in any special way, just a little slower and softer. you might take 5 or 10 slower breaths. If you like, you can place one hand on your heart and one on your belly. As you breathe in, just notice the movement in your belly or under your hand. As you breathe out, let the out-breath be just a fraction longer and softer. If you like, you can imagine breathing in a gentle, nourishing colour. Seeing that colour come into your body, into your lungs, and as you breathe out, just letting go of anything you don't need right now. Breathing in that colour, breathing out, allowing your mind, your body, your physiology to relax and flow. You don't have to force anything to change. We're just giving your system a chance. And now you can just have a sense of your environment. What you'd see if your eyes were open. What colours, textures, shapes you would notice. Again, just noticing the points of contact between your body and whatever is connecting with your body, including your clothing. And I invite you to just generate thoughts such as, it is safe enough for me to let go a little right now. I don't have to fix everything in this moment. I can allow myself to just focus on my breath. So I invite you just to take a few more breaths. Nice and slow. And as you carry on, just allowing yourself to breathe in that relaxed way. When you're ready, I invite you to gently wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe roll your shoulders. And if your eyes were closed, just gently open them. And just let me know in the chat what number you were before we did this little guided relaxation. For relaxation, with 0 being not very relaxed and 10 being extremely relaxed. So you can give me that before number and what number you are now. And feel free to just let me know how you feel having done that. And all feedback is welcome. Okay? I'm not precious. You can say what you like. So if you are a bit of an achiever type, I want to give you a little shift in your thinking to consider that rest is an achievement. Real rest is part of recovery. It's not a break from recovery. Sometimes people feel that if they're resting, they're failing. Actually, it has its place. But as I say, it's useful to consider, is it rest I need? Is it connection, fun, stimulation? Is it that I need to tune into my body and discern what's going on? What might have contributed to my energy dipping? Is there some emotion that I need to take care of? So I invite you for the next 7 days just to choose one tiny action that actually recharges you. It might be that tiny, real rest moment. It might be small doses of CFS, connection, fun, stimulation, that feels safe enough. For example, 3 minutes of eyes closed and slow breath. Once, twice, 3 times a day. 5 minutes lying down with no screen. Just gentle audio or silence. Couple of minutes of the practice we just did after a small task. 3 to 5 minutes of something that genuinely brings a little connection, fun, stimulation, or longer if that feels appropriate. And once a day is enough. You're building a new skill rather than trying to fix everything in one go or win the gold medal in resting. So let me know in the chat what will be your tiny experiment this week, whether it's real rest or a bit of CFS, connection, fun, stimulation. So in this video we've looked at what real rest is and what it isn't, and gave your system a small experience of real rest. We've also looked at the fact that sometimes what we're missing isn't more rest, but it's something else. If you'd like to try that, if you'd like to do that 7-day experiment, I'd love to hear how it goes. You can comment below or you can send me a message via email. If you want more support like this, I offer no cost resilience group coaching calls every 2 weeks. If you'd like details, comment group below. I also have the Building Resilience Coaching Circle, and this is a small paid group for people who want applying these tools week by week. If you'd like more information about that, comment circle below. Or you can email me at support@mecfsexplored.com, and I'll send you details. So thanks for joining me. Do leave a comment, do share the video if you found it useful, helps other people find the video. Dare to dream big dreams. Dare to take steps no matter how small. They count and they add up. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.